Hey folks, Valentin the Mad here, and today we'll be looking at the Fantic Caballero 500 Rally. So this review was planned. I was talking to Arek Rosenblum from Moto Magazine here in Israel, and he says, got a bike for you to review. At that stage, I don't even know which bike, but I immediately say yes, and then I hear it's the Caballero. And dude, I'm pumped. A while back I came across one in the wild and thought, it is absolutely beautiful. Never forgotten about it, and here I have the chance to review one. So, technically, it's a scrambler, but is that actually the case? Usually that means classic looks, which we do have here to a degree, and some mild off-roading capabilities. As you can see here in the case of the rally version, it is very off-road oriented, with features like the long travel suspension and the high ground clearance. So, even just in a quick glance, it definitely isn't a run-of-the-mill bike in this category. Now, that off-road focus has a price. The seat height is gonna be fairly tall. As you can see here, I barely have a bend in my knee, and I'm about 6'4". So in the case of a short rider, that may be an issue. What will make it more manageable is the weight, which is quite light. 150 kilos, and that feels like, really, nothing. Despite it being a tall bike, you'll barely feel it. And the handlebars are gonna be fairly narrow. Not like a sport bike or a scooter, but you can definitely feel them. We'll talk more about that later. As for the engine, you may remember in the past that the Caballero 500 had a Chinese engine and the 700 had a Japanese Yamaha engine. That is still the case with the 700, but the 500 now has a new engine made in Italy by Motori Minarelly. It will deliver 44 horsepower and you have a 6-speed transmission. And when I first had it fired up, oh man, the sound was just very lovely, you know. Not as beastly as that modified exhaust classic 350, but certainly very characterful. So let's fire it up. So, not the oddest beast, but still I think very quite characterful, and actually, the mic didn't catch it very well, but it did have some very slight deceleration pops. Nothing that would trigger anyone's PTSD, but it did add to the character and just felt nice. As for the experience, there are two things you will notice immediately and they almost feel contradicting. The clutch is very light, very pleasant to use, but the shifting is a bit hard. You gotta put more effort than you do in most bikes. It's something you'll quickly get used to, but it helps knowing that in advance. Now if you ride conservatively, these are gonna be pretty short, but then you'll be missing out on all the fun. The sweet spot for torque in this engine is higher in the rev range, so it'll just kind of pull you in low RPMs, but when you get to about 4.5–5,000, you get a very nice feeling boost in that pull. Of course, not on the level of a beastly super sport, but it still feels a lot of fun. And the brakes are Bibre, basically entry-level Brembo, but they do give you a very nice bite. Didn't feel lacking at any point, even when I had to brake a bit harder. In the city, I had the chance to try it out in very brutal traffic and my experience was great. As I mentioned, it isn't very wide so you can get through cars, the lightweight feels awesome and the height gives you a good look at what's happening ahead. When I got a good feel for the bike, it actually made me feel confident about going through gaps I would perhaps otherwise flatfoot or just hesitate about taking. I think the key reason for that is gotta be the weight. But once again, that is my tall rider perspective. I did have to get my foot down quite a lot. For me, no problem, but for someone shorter, I can see it being an issue. and if you're wondering, it absolutely can handle highways. It'll cruise at 120-130 km/h all day, and you have plenty of power left in case you need it. The tires are the most off-road ones I ever rode, but that gave me no issues. Now as for some of the drawbacks. The engine will heat up. You will very much feel it towards your upper legs. In a cold climate, in the winter, it's probably very nice, but here in Israel it's summer most of the year, so wasn't a very big fan of that. I had some moments trying to find neutral, then bike finally says we are in neutral and we clearly weren't. Had a few false neutrals in motion too. I'm told it could be a part of the braking process. A small adjustment could potentially fix it. And I had the check engine light come up. I was told not to worry about that in advance. Something to do with servicing and a bit of an Italian engine quirk. Now, to be fair, Royal Enfield 350 engines, they are regarded as reliable and that can happen on them as well. So that isn't an indicator on reliability, and long-term reliability, the jury still seems to be out on this one. From what I can find, the Moto Minarelly engines seem to be generally good, but I can't find feedback one way or the other for specifically this engine. But you know, checking on the internet, perhaps the lack of complaints is actually kind of a sign. In conclusion, for the very least from the perspective of a tow rider, I think it is a Swiss army knife of a bike. Very manageable in the city, can do highways and has off-road capabilities too. Now this review wasn't focused on the latter. Basically, I have pretty much no off-road experience and it might not be a very wise idea to attempt to learn that on a review bike. So I hope you enjoyed this on-road review. If you rode one, own one, do tell me about your experience and subscribe, more reviews will be coming. I'll see you on the next one.